Talk about Victor Wembanyama, who you guys claim that I glaze all the time. Get to talk about Victor Wembanyama. Get to talk about this. I'm leaving Jalen Green fan club, yes. I get to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. And also, I get to talk about the Kings being poopy. So, really kind of a win-win-win scenario here. The San Antonio Spurs beat the Sacramento Kings last night. As I mentioned, the Spurs are now 11-9, 20 games into the season. And damn it, they look like a competitive basketball team. They look like a competitive basketball team. They've been 13th in defense so far this season. Over the last couple of weeks, they've been a top 10 offense as well. They're starting to figure some stuff out. Devin Vassell, please stay on the fucking basketball court. Please, dude. Please. Vassell missed the start of the season with a foot injury, and then he had a knee injury. He came back for 4 games, I think it was, then suffered a knee injury, and then he was out again for a week or a week plus, and now he's back, and he's looked really good his first 2 games back. In his return against the Spurs, Lakers had 14 points, 5 of 10 from the field. Last night against the Kings, 21 points, 8 of 12, 5 of 8 from deep. They really need him. Coming off the bench, they're sort of managing his minutes a little bit early on here. But his floor spacing, his mid-range shooting, his one dribble pull-up ability, playing off of screens from Victor Wembanyama, even playing off of screens from guys like Charles Bassey, but just taking advantage of that space that the Spurs are inevitably going to have because teams are going to help so hard on Victor Wembanyama. Yeah, Sohan's not even playing, but yes. Devin Vassell is going to be such an important piece of the puzzle here. Please, God, stay on the basketball court. But beyond that, Victor Wembanyama, this was an interesting game for him. 34 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal. Why do I say this is an interesting game? Well, it was the 3rd triple-double of his career. So, great game on that front. I didn't feel like watching the game. It didn't feel like he had a great game. I don't know. I've seen games from Victor Wembanyama where you're like, what the fuck was that? Like, is that who this guy is? Last night's game, triple-double. It just felt like, that was a good game from Vic. Like, that's what we kind of expect. I mean, he was knocking down his threes, obviously 5 of 9. Everything's going to look so much better when he's hitting threes. But in the 4th quarter, Victor Wembanyama made play after play after play. And maybe that's why I felt that way, because it sort of felt like through the first 3 quarters, he was having a pretty decent game. But 4th quarter, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. 4 or 5 from the field in that quarter. And honestly, played the entire 4th quarter. But what I think was probably the best part of that quarter for him, for Victor Wembanyama, 0 3-point attempts. Now, he shot the 3-ball well last night, 5 of 9. But the Kings, God, they're terrible. I'm beyond writing off the Kings. I think they're bad. What was the spread of this game? The Kings were 6.5-point favorites. It's easy to look at this and be like, oh, that's another bad loss for the Kings. I'm not so sure it is anymore. It just might be you might have just lost to a better team at home. Like, that's just it. Hey, keep your head up. We played close against a better team. Because defensively, they're atrocious. And we knew that they were really bad defensively, but my God, I think the addition of DeMar DeRozan adds another level to their horrendous defense. DeRozan, anytime I watch a team that's struggling, I always, especially after a made bucket, I always watch their bench to see how their coaches react. It looked like the Kings coaches were going to have an aneurysm after every made shot the Spurs had. Just overhelping by the Kings and just unbelievably late rotations, late closeouts. DeMar DeRozan was guilty of it a ton. Of being the guy who needed to rotate out to a shooter and either just straight up not doing it, or it being 3 seconds late, and that being a wide open 3. This paired with Sabonis having no rim protection whatsoever. Keon Ellis is a good, on-ball defender as well, but I think he's a terrible off-ball defender. And there's just a lot wrong, a lot going on. But I say all that to say this, was the Kings were just switching everything. And not even hard screens. Victor Wembanyama was ghosting every single screen that he was setting, and got the Malik Monk switch anytime that he wanted it, got a Keon Ellis switch anytime that he wanted it, and in the 4th quarter was just aggressive in attacking those switches. And that's exactly what you need him to be. right? You have a small guy on you. Get to the fucking rim. You know, here's all of his shots. Exactly what I was saying right here about Keon Ellis being a dreadful off-ball defender. Hitting all of your shots are just a dreadful team defender. Good pass by Harrison Barnes right there. Chris Paul was great in this game as well. But here you have Keon Ellis switched on to you. Go to work. That's a little mini-man. That's too easy. Sabonis is being muggy Keon Ellis there. What do you want him to do? He's giving up 2 feet. This time, this was a crazy shot. This was a good contest right here by Sabonis. But Victor Wembanyama, I mean, that's some superstar level shit. 4 minutes left of the game, tie game, hitting a shot like that over a real 7-footer. And then right here has Malik Monk switched on to him. You know, I would like for him to catch this ball closer to the basket. I think that's maybe the next step is building up that strength so you're not getting pushed all the way to the elbow by these little guys. But just aggressive, man. I mean, that's not terrible defense by Malik Monk, but you're so much taller. Just get to the basket. That's like a practice shot, basically. So I thought that was a great quarter of basketball for Victor Wembanyama and for the Spurs team. 11 assists as well. Just reading the help. The Spurs were shooting incredible last night. 50% from 3, 23 of 46. So it helps when anytime you make a kick out, guys are hitting threes. And Devin Vassell had what I think was the dagger. Beautiful kick out by Wemby to the corner, and Vassell had a sidestep 3 that was just beautiful. I love watching Devin Vassell play basketball. I really do. What would it take for a contender to trade for Malik Monk? Given his contract and stuff, probably a decent amount. I would have to venture to guess. Is Malik Monk a 2 first-round pick player? He's on a really good deal. He's only 26 years old. Like, if I'm the Kings, I'm not like... If I'm trading guys off, it would have to be Fox probably because of the contract stuff, but... Chris Paul had 13 points, 10 assists in this game. He was incredible as well. I mean, so valuable. And this is why the Dennis Schroeder thing, not to compare Chris Paul to Dennis Schroeder, teammates on the Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously. Not to compare those two directly as players, but this is why, you know, the Spurs are in a different spot than the Nets, obviously. But these sort of veteran point guards who just know how to play the game and just consistently put your team in the right spots, like Dennis Schroeder has been doing for the Nets this year. I say that the Nets really need to trade Dennis Schroeder because he's too fucking good for them. And I do mean that. They need to be losing games. But it's so valuable if you're trying to develop guys to have players like this on your roster. Name 3 teams Monk makes sense for in your opinion if they did trade him. I mean, the Magic still makes sense to me. That was a team we all thought he could go to in the offseason. You really kind of put me on the spot. I mean, I think the Lakers would love to have a guy like Malik Monk back in their building. Isn't Mike Conley supposed to be able to do that for Minnesota, and aren't they a disaster this season offensively? Yeah, but they're way better when Mike Conley's on the court, though. All of their three-point shooting numbers are way better when Mike Conley's on the basketball court. And Mike Conley did do that last year for them. Absolutely. Keldon Johnson made a couple of really nice plays in this game as well. Julian Champagnie, I like this dude quite a bit. Whenever I went to that, it's funny I've seen the Spurs play in person twice this season. But whenever I, sat courtside, the opening night game, he kind of stood out to me. Just a really good 3-point shooter. 36% from 3 this season. But, that's not a great number, but it's on really high volume. And he's absolutely a floor spacer. So I really like that. Could you see the Rockets wanting Fox? That would be interesting. I actually would really like that. I would really like that fit. And the Kings, DeMar DeRozan was a bucket down the stretch of this game. Keegan Murray continues to smell like shit. They're just a mess, dude. Isaac Jones, I want to give him a shout out because he had a couple of disgusting dunks back-to-back possessions in this game for them. He's been kind of a bright spot. What's been a dark pit of despair for the Sacramento Kings. Paul with the $5. Not to put you on the spot, but can you name 32 teams that want to trade for Doncic and what they would have to offer to get done? Hey. I got what Cole was saying, but it is funny when people come in here and they are like, "Hey man, what are the 5 teams that you think could trade for Maxi Kleber?" The trade stuff's always funny. We'll get into trade stuff. Trust me. That's usually around January that we pick up the trade, the fanspo. We dust it off. We start looking into it. Are the Spurs a real playing contender? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. 100%. Because I think there's a level up for them to achieve this year, even more than this. Like Vassell, healthy and plays. Sohan and Wemby, I think, do play really well off one another, but you'd have to figure out the spacing and the troubles that comes with. But an impressive win for the San Antonio Spurs team to win a shootout against the Kings on the road. Stinky-ass loss for the Kings yet again.